Hey there, welcome to another video. Are you ready to line it up? Hey there, welcome to this lesson. This is a very interesting and important lesson because we'll study in details what is the present perfect tense and how important it is for daily communication in English. So to get started, I would like you to look at this little chart I created. So the present perfect tense. Well, the first thing we need to know about it is that the present perfect tense exists so that we can talk about past actions from different perspectives. Exactly. So we use the present perfect tense to talk about actions that happened in the past, but from different perspectives. And today, on this lesson specifically, we'll talk about what are these different perspectives we can have or we have to use when we use the present perfect tense, okay? So to get started, I will say that we have divided at Unity the present perfect tense in 3 rules. Each of these rules gives you the direction you need to understand what perspective you can use the present perfect to express when it comes to past actions, okay? So let me give you an example before we get started. If I say to you, hey, I worked a lot. If you don't have the context to analyze very well, to check very well in English, the verb worked, my action, can be an action of many years ago, 5 minutes ago, 2 weeks ago. So I worked a lot. It's not clear in the sentence when I worked. And if I don't have the support of adverbs of time or more information, for example, I worked a lot yesterday. Okay, or I worked a lot last week. If I don't give you more details, you don't know, you can't guess when I worked. So that's why the simple past is dedicated to actions of the past. And when I use it, I always put the time, because when I put the time, then I have the clear picture. So I have the simple past to talk about past actions with time. And I have the present perfect to talk about the past and 3 main ideas I want you to pay attention to. So, number 1. So, perspectives. The first perspective is in the first rule. So in the first rule, we talk about a past of which the time of the action is not important. It's irrelevant. So past action of which the time is irrelevant. And here, I have a keyword. The keyword for the first rule is experience. So let's talk a little bit about this first rule. If I say to you, I worked with software development in 2012, you understand that I have an experience with that, and you understand the time, you understand everything. But do I need to say the time all the time when I use when I talk about the past? Is it necessary to specify the time all the time? No, sometimes we want to focus on the experience. For example, hey Sam, do you know anything about software development? Yes, I have worked with the software development before. So when I say this, when I use the present perfect in the first rule, I'm basically talking about the experience, okay? Let me give you another example. I'm not feeling well. I think it's because I haven't or I have not had lunch today. So this is the present perfect. I have not had. And when I say this, I'm talking about the past and I don't want to give the time. This is why I use the present perfect, because it doesn't matter what time I should have had lunch. It doesn't matter what time I normally have lunch. The focus here is that I haven't had lunch today, and that's probably why I'm not feeling well. So this is the experience perspective I can express using the present perfect. I talk about a past action, emphasizing the experience I have from these actions. Okay? Let's take a look at another example. I have the second rule when I talk about actions completed in the recent past. So What are the actions completed in the recent past? The example I used is perfect. I have not had lunch today. So here I'm talking about a recent past. Another example is this one. Hey Sam, have you sent me the email with the information? Oh yes, I have just sent it to you. I have sent. I have finished. So again, it's the past, and my focus is not the time. My focus is on the fact that it's recent. I did it a little time ago. So that's the idea for the second rule. On the other side, I have the third rule. And the third rule we often call in English the present perfect continuous. Why continuous? Because I talk about an action that is started in the past and continues to happen up to the present moment. So the idea here is the idea of the words continuity and duration. For example, I have been living in this city. I have been living in this city for 7 years. So here I'm focusing on the continuity aspect of the action. And these are the three rules for the use of the present perfect. Before we actually consider this introduction, I'm going to erase this, clean the board, so I can also talk about something very important, okay? So now let's talk about the structure of the present perfect tense in English. And the structure, I'm sure you are familiar with S for subject, and then we have, and then we have past participle. Okay, verb, and then we have complement. So I'm sure you are familiar with this structure. This is a structure we talk about all the time in English. It's the basic SVC, subject, verb, and complement. But when we talk about structures in the present perfect tense, we have to pay attention to some interesting facts. What is different for the present perfect tense? The difference is that we have the addition of two very important forms, okay? And well, one important form and an auxiliary. Let me actually go back to the example we used a little ago. So I have worked a lot. So I have worked a lot. So here, can you see that I use have and then I have worked? This have is an auxiliary verb. So we are very familiar with the use of have to express possession. For example, I have a car, I have a dog, I have a nice computer, I have a nice friend in Switzerland. So we use it to express proprietorship and possession. This is not the have we use for that. This have is an auxiliary verb, and it is a member of the inversion group. How come, Sam? This is a member of the inversion group? Yes, because when I use have in the present perfect tense, I'm thinking about a very different perspective, not possession. And this is what we have to have in mind. So, and when we talk about worked, we know the present for work is work and the past is worked. But this worked is the past participle verb. So this verb is a little bit different from worked. Do you remember the verb conjugation column? We have the first column, second column, and third column. This is part of the third column. Okay, in the case of work, it is a regular verb. So I have I work, I worked, I worked. The structure, the form is the same. But for other verbs, for example, the verb to speak, the third column, the last column is different. So I speak, I spoke, I have spoken. And we'll study in details this after, okay? But what is important here is to understand that have is a member of the inversion group. So let's change a little bit this sentence. Let's say I want to say you have worked a lot, and I want to make this a question. If I want to make this a question, because have in this case, when I use the present perfect tense, is a member of the inversion group, I just have to apply the inversion mechanism. So have you worked a lot. Here we go, and voila, I have a question, okay? Why is that? Because have here works as a member of the inversion group. So you have to leave this video lesson with two very important information. Number one, I use the present perfect to talk about the past from different perspectives. And I have three rules. I have the past, of which the time is not important, keyword experience. I have second rule, the past that is recent, something that finished recently, an action that was executed and completed recently. And I have an action that started in the past and continues to happen up to the present moment. And here I want to talk about continuity and duration, okay? And the second thing I have to remember is that when I use the have that I have when I structure present perfect sentence is not used to express possession. It's used as an auxiliary verb, and it uses the inversion group mechanism. This have is a member of the inversion group. And last but not least, the verb I have after have is in the past participle, third column of the verbs list. Okay? Good job. So now we'll continue to develop more on how to use the three rules to master the present perfect, but it's time for you to practice a little bit and understand more of what we studied here. So go practice a little bit about the information you got from this, and I talk to you later, okay? Bye-bye.